Today I'm sharing 5 lessons I've learned from being on social media for close to 15 years. Hello, this is Katie from Crafting Ruby Dreams and welcome back to my channel. I talk about planners, goal setting, writing, publishing, and getting right with my finances. As I said, today I'm going to share lessons that I have learned from being on social media, both as an individual with personal agendas such as they are, as well as somebody who has worked to develop professional relationships and make connections with potential consumers through my accounts as my writing pen name. So a little background on my history with social media. Before the services like Twitter and Facebook became a thing, I was involved in the LiveJournal community and other blogging platforms, as well as bulletin board networks. So it's really more that I have 25 years of experience on social media, because being a citizen of the internet means being social. And I joined Twitter in March of 2007, which was roughly about 6 months after they started, because I saw some librarian friends talking about it, and these were people who I wanted to interact with. So I joined Twitter. I didn't really understand how to use it for, I think it was about another 3 months that it just really clicked for me. And that was because I attended the American Library Association conference that year, and having a relatively easy way to connect with friends and potential contacts without needing their phone numbers to be able to text them, that was like, oh, this is great. This is what the true networking means, to have, hey, I'm at the American Library Association conference. Anyone want to do lunch? And have somebody who was following that and searching for that reply to me, go yeah, I would like to. And this was before hashtags were a thing. And hashtags were not created by Twitter. Those were created by the users as a way to group together search terms. So I was on Twitter before hashtags were a thing. I was on Twitter when fail whale was a regular occurrence. So I've seen the service grow up, and there is just a lot of good things that happen on Twitter, and there are a lot of bad things that happen on Twitter, as with any social media platform. And that's the thing to keep in mind when I give all of this advice. That was my personal account that I joined with in March of 2007. About 2 years later, I joined under my pen name, and I let that sit for the longest time because I was really busy under my real name. And I finally got things going with my pen name and was pretty active with my pen name up until this past year, when I've been on hiatus as my pen name. It's not that I've killed the account as much as there is a lot of overlap of my circles. There are some people who only follow me as my pen name, Kelly, and there are some people who only follow me as my real name, Katie. But there's a lot of overlap, even among people who think of me as two separate people because of those names and the way that I have managed those identities online. But I was active on Facebook for a while as Kelly, publicly. Katie, I am on Facebook, but I tend to keep my activity relatively private, and I don't post a whole lot on Facebook, posts coming from me, as much as being active in groups. So I'll make posts in groups as opposed to my general news feed. But I will react to posts shared by family and friends, and do likes and whatever the whole system is now, comment, and I'll be active in that way. But other than that, I didn't like the commercial aspects of Facebook that I was seeing as Kelly, in how they would offer services such as groups, and when groups were first formed, and then, oh hey, pay to actually have these posts seen by members of your group. So there was a lot of highly commercialized. It's finding that balance between, yes, a company has to make money, and when you are on a free service, you, the user, are the product to the advertisers. So I'm sure you probably have heard that before, but that is something very much to keep in mind. I decided I just didn't like using Facebook as Kelly. I was primarily on there to be able to have access to their ad system, which that was a money sink for me. I had never really figured out a way to make ads work for me. There are a lot of people for whom they have figured out how to make ads work for them, and more power to them. I didn't honestly really have the money to sink into all of the testing needed to get that figured out in my own head. So that is just something I have backed away from, is doing advertising through platforms. So I'm very much focused on being organic with my content and trying to grow an audience organically. It's a lot harder and it's going to take me a lot longer to do. And I recognize that and I accept that. And maybe one day I will have enough money coming in order to pay someone to help me figure out how to do ads. But for now, I am fine with where I'm at because I'm trying to be conscious of the ways I use my money and be smart about that. So that's the ad system. As for Instagram, I joined Instagram as Katie back in 2011, probably. I first actually really kind of heard about it. I forget how I first heard about it, but I joined in like 2010, 2011, before Facebook bought it, and then Facebook bought it. So I was just kind of like, I forget when I created my Kelly account. I'm pretty sure it was after 2011, probably right around the same time that I started getting more active on Twitter as Kelly and trying to be more active on Facebook. I was trying to be social, so hence social media. And I kind of went towards and gravitated towards Twitter because I do very well with cocktail party style conversation. And so that was an environment that I was already good at as Katie and comfortable in. So that's kind of where my energy naturally went to. But I also like the visual aspects of Instagram. And one of the things I've been very conscious of lately and making use of as the services have made accessibility features built into their various apps is using alt text to describe images. If you have any questions on how to use alt text in any of the services right now, as far as I know, Facebook does not provide that service when you do a post, so that is something to keep in mind. But in order to make social media accessible to those who are visually impaired or use screen readers for whatever reason, you should be using alt text to describe your images. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions about that at all. Last year, I created the Crafting Ruby Dreams account on Instagram, and I then started the YouTube channel in August. At least I officially launched it. Turns out I have a YouTube channel from back in the day. This would have been created in probably like 2009, 2008 or so, and that particular channel I think has a how-to knitting video. I can't remember how I did it, but I somehow managed to do a how-to video on how to do particular stitches with knitting, and I kind of like let that go. I believe that account is also where I was doing book recommendations, so like booktubing before there was booktube. So it didn't capture my creative interest at the time, which is why I let that go fallow, and I'm cool with that because I have the energy and I have the creative interest in doing these videos, and so I am very happy with how things have evolved and where I am at with YouTube and other things. If you've hit the too long didn't read part, I've been on Twitter for nearly 14 years now. I've been on Facebook probably for 12 years. I have had multiple accounts on both platforms for about the same period of time, and that's my history with social media. And I have learned a lot in my time, and I've seen a lot of advice given in my time, both personally as well as if you are a personal brand, such as being an author. I've seen a lot of advice from PR people, a lot of which I don't necessarily agree with, because I think they're coming at it from a very commercial, consumerist, you need to appeal to all of the people possible point of view. I get that. I don't agree with that. My first lesson learned is define and set your boundaries. So going back to what I said about some people not realizing that I am one person with my Kelly accounts and my Katie accounts when they follow both, even though my voice does not change between the two accounts and presentations of myself, I did a very, very good job of setting the boundary, and this was for personal family reasons, that I would not refer to or follow Katie as Kelly and vice versa. I made it very clear that I had an alter ego. I didn't hide that I had a writing persona as Katie, and as Kelly, I did not hide that I had a librarian persona. But I never said I am Katie, go look at my Katie accounts as Kelly, and as Katie, I never said I am Kelly, go look at my Kelly accounts. At least on purpose, because I was switching between accounts, I would sometimes accidentally cross post. But for the most part, I kept the accounts separate, and there were very few people who managed to remember that I was both people. Even people who I told explicitly in private communication, I am Kelly Maher, author of romance and erotic fiction. They knew I had a writing personality. They knew I was published. They knew I had books out. They totally forgot my name. They completely forgot, because I just did such a good job of holding those particular boundaries. Other boundaries that you may want to consider setting, and again, the reasons for the boundaries that I chose to keep my writing separate were for personal family reasons that were very pertinent 15 years ago. They are not as pertinent now because of the passage of time. But you may want to not include your family in your content creation. I do not include my family in my weekly vlogs. If you catch sight of my family, it's often going to be in passing very quick. And I do not put my young family members on this at all, because I am not their parent. I am their aunt, and I'm not going to even cross that bridge. They would have to come to me and say, I want to be part of this, and then I would need their parent, preferably both their parents at the very least, to agree to it and approve what I put out before I did anything. But I do not foresee my inclusion of them on this channel or on my Instagram, because that is not my purpose. I share that it's like I have family, I love my family, but I don't want to put them out on the internet. And I also do my best to respect my siblings' privacy. And so I try not to refer to them by name, and I try not to include their images in what I do, because again, I am trying to respect their privacy. Other boundaries could be that you don't do things at certain times of the day. And honestly, the content that you choose to put out there, like you will put out, say, planner spreads, but you're not going to put out what you are doing about paying down your debt. You have to decide what it is that you put out there. And this is kind of related to when you see somebody on the internet, you are seeing an edited version of themselves. And that is absolutely true. And that's because they have set boundaries and they are enforcing those boundaries. Now, there is the hyper edited version of people where they're presenting an almost not fake persona as much as not necessarily authentic either. So you have to figure out what the balance is to, are you trying to be authentic while also maintaining certain boundaries of privacy and other things? Like recently saw somebody on Instagram stories yesterday post that she was not on stories for this past week and had to deal with feelings of inadequacy of not providing content, but at the same time, she did not feel that she could have provided authentic content as she was dealing with some things that she did not want to put out on the internet. And so this goes back to enforcing the boundaries that you set for yourself. You do not have to be on the internet all of the time. You do not have to throw all of your business out on the internet, but you have to figure out what's going to be important for you, what your focus is, and then draw your lines and enforce them. And periodically revisit those lines and see if you want to change them for any reason. Either pull them back in or maybe expand them a little bit. Either way, you should do regular check-ins with yourself. Related to setting and enforcing boundaries is my number 2 lesson learned from being on the internet. Have a reason for why you are on a particular social media platform. And this could be as simple as, I'm having fun with this. And when I was first on Twitter, I wanted to connect with the library community. So my boundaries at that time were that I would follow librarians and I would put the preference to librarians and library workers and adjacent communities such as information security and other things. And another thing that I set at that time to help me manage the inflow of information is that I was only going to follow 100 people. And I managed to follow that boundary for a while, but I went back to revisiting what my boundaries were, and I ended up expanding. And I think still even to this day, it's like I expanded it out pretty far to like 1,000 something, but I do not follow back every single person who follows me on Twitter. And same with other social media platforms. Now, with my personal Facebook account, I have those boundaries relatively close in. I have my account set to private, so I have to approve anyone who follows me. And it's useful, but at the same time, keep in mind that anything you put out on the internet is not wholly private. And anybody can crack what you put on the internet, even if you put it behind all of the various walls. So if you want to keep something truly private, but you need to put it out there, get a notebook and a pen and write it down and then burn it. Just say it. Other reasons for being on social media platforms is because you want to connect with a specific community. I could have very easily gone into my personal Instagram account and followed planner people. I was already following some planner people, but when I decided that I wanted to create the YouTube channel and I wanted to create a personal brand around planners and goal setting and writing and publishing, communicating out what I know of the writing and publishing industries to help those in the planner community who might be interested, I knew I wanted to create a new account. So that's why I created Crafting Ruby Dreams as a separate Instagram account. With YouTube, I had totally forgotten that I had the other channel, so that was another reason why I created the brand channel for Crafting Ruby Dreams on YouTube. Defining your why, one of the questions you want to ask yourself is, what do you want to get out of being on the platform? Is it going to be networking? Is it going to be making personal connections with people in a particular community? Is it going to be becoming an influencer so that you can get brand deals? It's like, yeah, I think I would like that, because that would be another source of income for me. And I definitely believe in diversifying your income streams, because that's something that has stuck with me from when I took my honors econ class in high school, as well as my entrepreneurship class in college. That has appealed to me, but I want to make the connection with the planner community first and foremost. Now, I do have a Twitter account as Crafting Ruby Dreams, but I haven't really posted anything to it, partially because I haven't figured out the reasons for being on Twitter in the planner community. Most of the activity that I have seen, at least in the community that I kind of want to be a part of, are on Instagram and YouTube because of the very visual aspects. Now, you can absolutely post videos and photos to Twitter, but I'm very active, and my personal account is Katie, so I'm kind of like, I'm good. I'm good with just maintaining the one account. Related to that is my lesson learned number 3. You do not have to do everything. You do not have to be on every single social network. There are people who have spent the time to figure out the communities involved in each of the social networks and how to connect with them, as well as what those social networks are going to do for them, and if they have a personal brand, their personal brand. And I commend them for it. I have decided to concentrate my time and energy, since I am doing this outside of my day job. And so I just want to be efficient with how I'm spending my time. So that's why I have decided, as Crafting Ruby Dreams, to focus hard in on YouTube as well as Instagram. And so I have, for the last couple of weeks, have been letting Instagram kind of live follow for a little bit, but that is partially because of the energy that I was in this past week. So I want to get back to long-term spending more time on Instagram as a content creator. Right now I'm a content consumer, and that is fine, but I want to better integrate what I do on Instagram with what I do on YouTube. But because I've pretty much limited myself to those two areas, I'm not feeling like I have to do all of the things. Like, I don't have to figure out the algorithms for YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and Facebook. No, I'm overwhelmed just thinking about that. Now, it is a little frustrating with Facebook that I am on there as my real name, and that's Katie Dunback. So you will see me in the MäksēLife group. You will see me in the Chrissy Ann Designs group. I'm trying to think of what other more public groups. Llama Lounge for Wild University. So that's where the 3 planner groups that I'm particularly active in, as a commenter and sometimes as a poster. But I am not consciously planning my content for everything beyond YouTube at this point. And let me know if you want me to talk about that in another video. I'm very happy to do that. Trying to figure out the algorithms for all of the different services, as well as figuring out the right type of content and then actually creating that content, and all of the back-end production work involved with that is a lot for me. But at the same time, if you are enjoying being on all of the various networks and you are having fun with it, definitely go for it. Do what you want to do and what is bringing you joy in your life, what is bringing you happiness, what is creating energy for you. Where are you finding the energy creation area? If you're a writer, I would recommend checking out Becca Syme's videos on energy pennies. I have to figure out which videos those are buried in. That might be in some of the burnout videos, but her theory about energy pennies is that if you're working within your top strengths, and these are the Clifton strengths again, you are going to generate energy pennies that you can then spend down the road on things that require you to pay energy to do them. So if you are doing things that are bringing you energy and getting you excited and happy and going, and you've got all of these things, and now you can output that energy. So follow where the energy is. If it's just constantly draining you, that might not be a place for you to be. My fourth lesson learned is that you need to be passionate about what you are doing. You don't have to bring that passion energy all the time, but you have to really truly care about what you're doing, and you are going to connect with the people that you are meant to connect to. This kind of goes back to why I did the writing advice video on being specific. A part of this advice is that if what you are being passionate about, what you are caring about, leads you to being political, and I'm using air quotes for a reason, go with it. Because again, you are going to connect with the people that you want to and need to connect with. Being political, there are people whose very existence is political. Me being a woman is political. Me being fat is political because of all of the health policies that are developed that count obesity and their definition of obesity as a health concern. And there are higher rates of things. Like, I don't qualify for health insurance on my own, partially because of my obesity. And so me being a fat woman is political. I am white. There is definitely some political aspects to that, but there are a lot more political aspects to being somebody who is not white because of all of the institutionalized and systemic racism that is baked into the United States. So them just being on the internet is political. If somebody is telling you, don't be political, no. I do not hold with that. Because if you water yourself down to appeal to everyone, then you are watering yourself down. I know people who they truly believe that that is the way to go, and you know what? That is their choice. If that is what you are choosing to do consciously, go with it, because that's something you care about and are passionate about. So there's that going on. But if you are talking about something that you are passionate about and you care about, and it is in line with who you are and what your values are, and somebody comes along and says, you should stop being so political, don't listen to them. They are not worth your time. They are not your audience. They are not for you, and you are not for them. So let them fall by the wayside, because you want to develop an audience that is passionate about you and what values you are presenting and the efforts that you put forward, and you are connecting with your core true audience. Bring passion to what you do, and don't let anyone tell you to don't be political. I hate that. I truly do. Want to emphasize once more, if you don't want to be political, don't be political. You are making that conscious choice, and make that conscious choice. That is a boundary for you. Going back to lesson learned number 1, set your boundaries and enforce them. My 5th lesson learned from being on the internet and being on social media platforms for as long as I have fun. Draw fun from what you are doing, because if you are no longer having fun, that is going to draw energy out of you, and that is going to really seep at your soul. For as much as I love Twitter, for as much as I enjoy the community that I have developed in who I follow, in who follows me and interacts with me, I had to step back. I realized that it was not as much fun. I was getting energy hits from like being online and seeing everything that was going on, and it was but it was not fun. It was, at the same time as it was generating some energy, it was like the empty calories energy, and the work involved of maintaining my emotional health from seeing everything that I was seeing. And this was primarily in the last year. I thought I was able to handle it up until last year, and then I realized, no, I couldn't. So I think it was like early May that I kind of started stepping back and trying to find the balance of being what I value as being a good social internet citizen, as well as taking care of myself so that I could continue to come forward and do what I felt I needed to do, but with some level of energy and some level of enthusiasm. So it's a balance, and if you need to step back, step back. Do not feel like you need to apologize for stepping back, because when you're doing so, you are choosing yourself and you are choosing to care for yourself. And that is so, so necessary, because there are a lot of people on the internet who gain joy in sucking the life out of others. And you don't need to give them time. It's like, hopefully you've already banned them from your circles. Those who truly care about you are going to support you in doing what you need to do to care for yourself. Those are my 5 lessons learned from being on social media for nearly 15 years. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, if you would like to see videos about anything specific I talked about, and if you found anything in this video useful, I hope you will hit that like button so that YouTube knows to recommend it to others. If you have not already, I hope you will hit that subscribe button and the bell to be notified about future videos. I do post about 2 times per week, typically on Tuesdays and Saturdays. Thank you so much for joining me here today, and may all your dreams be ruby dreams. Bye-bye.